Hi everybody, I'm Reverend Jim Keith, the digital minister at the Riverside Church. This is Wendell, one of my cats, and this is The Word Made Fresh, the weekly show where we take a look at one of the upcoming lectionary passages, we explore a few ideas, we ask a couple questions, and then we watch cat videos. No, just kidding, then we talk about it. So, let's see what this week's passage is all about. Today's passage is once again in 1 Timothy. If you watched last week's three-part video, we are sticking with 1 Timothy. Good old Pauline epistles from everyone's favorite pseudo-Paul. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 6 through 19. That's this coming Sunday's lectionary text. It's a doozy. We are going to just look at some of the omitted verses from this lectionary text, and then we're going to look at one particular verse. So let's start with the omitted verses, verses 1 through 5. Just as much as it's important to see what the Bible says and what these packages of the Bible, the Revised Common Lectionary, what they say, it's important to see what's omitted. The person behind the camera, you know, they get to frame the shot however they want, so what are they leaving out of the frame? That's just good to notice once in a while. That's the fun of Bible study. So, verses 1 through 5, here's what it says. Let all who are under the yoke of slavery regard their masters as worthy of all honor, so that the name of God and the teaching may not be blasphemed. Okay, it goes on from there, but you already know we're off to a rough start. The Bible says that all who are under the yoke of slavery regard their masters as worthy of all... Oh, that's in the Bible. No wonder it was left out of the Revised Common Lectionary. That is not something we need having read in our world today from any place of authority. Can we get a redaction here? Where's the editor? Who edited this book? What do you do when the Bible says stuff like this? I mean, how do you say, well, that's the same weight as this other stuff? It's like, well, we have to clearly see the contextual fault lines at play in these words on the page, recognizing that some things need to be shed and left behind. There is no way these words should ever be supported in our world today, yet there they are in black and white. So kind of food for thought number one whenever we read any passage is to recognize what is being omitted, what's being overlooked, who are the voices who are left out from a story, and in this case, what verses are we skipping in our lectionary reading, and why, and what do we do with the baggage that they contain? The Bible seems to be in support of slavery. Our country, America, is continuing to deal with a very real and ugly history of racism and slavery, and if nothing else, the omitted verses like this from this week's lectionary remind us to look at the things we just want to gloss over. We have to wrestle with them and recognize them as real and honest truths, no matter how ugly they might be. And we got some work to do. And that we, white folk, I'm talking to us here, we got some work to do to pay some recompense for just what we've inherited with the privilege of our skin. All right, this is turning into a rant. Let's move on to the actual passage for this Sunday, in one particular verse that I want us to just sit with for a couple moments. Here it is.
Oh man, I need to shave.
Note to self, shave before Sunday. Chapter 6, verse 10. This is the specific passage I want us to just sit with. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. And in their eagerness to be rich, some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pains. For the love of money is a root of all evil. You may have heard it said, for the love of money is the root of all evil. First, I want us to focus on what this specific verse is not saying. Now, you're reading, this epistle, this letter to the church, to this dude named Timothy. It's a little different than what you may have read a few books earlier from a dude named Jesus, where he talked about rich people as well. He said, rich people, sell everything you own and give it to the poor. And that's not what the epistle says here. The passage continues in verse 17, for those in the present age who are rich, command them not to be haughty or to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but rather on God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. So, rich people, enjoy your riches, but remember God gave it to you. What's not being said here is what Jesus said. Sell everything you have and give it to the poor. It's almost like this author of 1 Timothy, pseudo-Paul, he's saying, capitalists, just give thanks to God, whereas Jesus is saying, can we spread the wealth around and care for those who are most oppressed and in need in our society? Whew. All right, pseudo-Paul versus Jesus. Let's see what happens. So that's just an interesting note about what's not being said here in this passage, for the love of money is the root of all evil. Thing number 2, what is also not being said here is the way that this phrase is typically remembered or quoted. Often we hear people say, money is the root of all evil. That's not what it says. It says, for the love of money. It's not the thing itself that is bad, it's the way in which we relate to the thing that can go sour. Now, this makes me think back even further in the book, not just to Jesus, but all the way back to Exodus and Deuteronomy, where we see the 10 Commandments. You've probably heard of those. And the first one is, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Basically, when it comes to the order of things in the world, God should be at the top of the list. If you're going to love something the most, it shouldn't be money, it should be God. So the author of this epistle seems to be just reminding us of how to prioritize our relationship with the world around us. And our relationship with God, our love for God, should be the thing we put at the top, not our relationship with money or capitalism or consumerism or the new iPhone 11 Pro that just came out, or whatever it might be. Yeah, so what do you think about this phrase, the love of money is the root of all evil? How has it been understood or misunderstood in the church, in the world, in the way in which we kind of encounter faith and the Bible and everyday life? Leave a comment below with your thoughts on all that, and we'll do this again next week. See you then. Oh, don't forget, the first Sunday of each month, we're doing a live face-to-face video call version of The Word Made Fresh. So that is October 6th, if you're watching this in real time. We are going to gather online. There's a website you can go to, trcnyc.org/thewordmadefresh, and you'll see all the information about where to click and what to do and how to join the conversation. Look forward to seeing you on the internet, face-to-face, voice-to-voice. It's going to be great. I'll see you there.